Hi, today I'm going to show you my childcare program. I'm back here at the back door of my house walking out, and I am fortunate enough to have my childcare program in a building in the back of my house. So it's actually separate from my home, but I'm technically still considered a family childcare home because it's on my property, and the building in the back, for legal purposes, is considered a part of my home, even if it's not connected. And I'm going to show you how I have it set up. I've lived in this space and worked in this space for about 6 months. Prior to this, I had a 950 square foot home, which I ran my childcare program out of. So I do know what it's like to have the childcare program in your home, and I feel very fortunate and very blessed to have this outbuilding in the back where I can run the childcare program now. So let me show you. This is where the parents and children come in. When they arrive in the morning, they come through this gate and they walk past our play yard here. Not a super fancy play yard, but good enough. It has what the children need to get fresh air every day, move their bodies a bit, that sort of thing. So one of our main features is our garden. So here are some sunflowers that we grew. Every spring we plant as much as we can. This spring we were making the transition from the old house to the new house, so we did a little less than we usually do, but we did get sunflowers planted. You can see that they're just about done. I leave the sunflowers up for as long as I can stand it because squirrels will climb up and eat the sunflower seeds, and that's a pretty exciting thing for the children. And I think it's also important. It's important for children to watch things grow, but I think it's also important for children to watch things decay, because that's a part of the life cycle as well. So we planted seeds in the spring, the flowers grew, they were beautiful, and now the flowers have made new seeds so that more can grow in the spring, and talking about that is all a part of the curriculum here. We have a broccoli plant here, and this has little tiny pieces of broccoli that the children like to eat, which is awesome, even though they're very bitter. I don't like to eat them. They do not taste good to me, but they do to them, and that's wonderful. We have a chard plant, which has gone to seed. Again, I leave that up because that's interesting, that plants, the fact that plants do go to seed, and some plants we eat the seeds, like strawberries, and some plants we don't, like chard. We do not eat them once it's gone to seed. We've got some collard greens and some kale. We have our carrot patch with a lupin growing in it. The carrots we planted in March. I'm making this video in October 20th, and we still have carrots, so that's awesome. They love them. And strawberries, we mainly have green strawberries now in October, but again, we've had strawberries since the spring, or I guess since about June, and they've grown all summer long. And the kids now, I'm really protective of the strawberries. I want them to leave them until they turn red, but now they're green, and I don't think they're going to turn red in October, so they can have at them. So that's our garden. We have a sandbox here. This is where the kids spend most of their time. It's a big sandbox that fits all 6 of them. I use a tarp to cover it, not the most glamorous, but we do have a lot of cats in the neighborhood. It seems to work. Underneath there we have shovels and scoops, and I have little small Tonka trucks and that sort of thing. So that's a big draw. We have the playhouse, which I got on Craigslist for about $100, and I've had it for 6 years, so that was a score. They use that a ton. Our little picnic table. We don't do picnics very often. That's quite a bit of work. I have the children all bring their own food, so to get out 6 different lunches and yogurts and spoons and warm up soup, and picnic is a very rare treat at my house. But they sometimes pick their carrots or their strawberries and bring them to the picnic table and sit and eat. They also climb up on it and jump off of it. So that's kind of my secret. I don't have a climber, but sometimes kids just need to climb up stuff and jump off, and I let them climb off that and jump off of my picnic table. So here's our helicopter that we got. I got this on Craigslist for $75. This is awesome. I don't know, let's see. It goes up and down, so it's a teeter-totter. So 2 kids can be on the side teeter-tottering, and then 2 kids can be in the middle riding, and that's an awesome, fun thing. And our wood chip pile. The story of the wood chip pile is shortly after we moved here in March, one of my clients noticed that I had poison hemlock growing all over back there. Back behind that fence is also our yard. So poison hemlock all over that yard, and then all over the corner of the play yard here. And poison hemlock, for those of you who don't know, is very, 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 very poisonous, deadly. So I panicked. The kids left. I pulled it all out, and then we had a load of wood chips from our play yard at our old house. And I had my husband bring them and just cover the area. My idea is if I could just stop their growth. So, but now, as you can see, we have the dump trucks here. The kids love to fill the dump trucks with the wood chips, and they don't use it a ton, but they use it enough until we have time to develop this yard further, which we do have plans, of course, to develop this yard further. It's a good kind of stopgap for that poison hemlock situation. Random tire, kids roll that around, sit on it, whatever. And then we have our riding toys, lots and lots of riding toys, because we have this great cement strip that goes along the course of the building. And then actually at that gate is a huge cement pad. So that's a sometimes activity that I can open that gate and we can ride vehicles out there. But mainly they're riding them here. And, for 2-year-olds, 4-year-olds, that's kind of a small spot to ride, but I have lots of 2-year-olds, and that's plenty of room for a 2-year-old to ride a riding vehicle. And then we have a basketball hoop, and some balls are inside of the playhouse. So that's our play yard. So the kids enter in the morning, they come on through here. We have these nice big windows. I utilize that to hang up some artwork, kind of as a welcoming. You're entering into a child's space, and this is the welcome room. There's my chime. I worked really hard to find so for those of you who are not current providers, may not have noticed in the WAC that you are required to have a doorbell chime when someone opens a door. So that way, if children open the door and are trying to leave, you're alerted. If anyone, because you're supposed to leave your doors unlocked. And so Dell wants you to have something on your doors that will alert you when someone's opening the door. Most of the chimes that I found are terrible sounding, loud, high-pitched, terrible sounds. I ordered this one on Amazon. It was more expensive than the really loud chimes, but it provides a welcome. It's called a welcome bell as opposed to an alarm. I think that's key if you're searching for something, is to search for a welcome bell. Anyway, so this is the room, the welcome room. So we have a refrigerator up on the counter. Again, my clients bring their own food, so they each bring a lunchbox and they'll stick it in there. And that's just about the right size. At my old house, they had access to my whole refrigerator. So they'd bring in milk that was supposed to stay there, or they'd bring in yogurt for the week that I was supposed to dish out. So I love that they can just fit a lunchbox in here, because then they are doing the work of portioning out the food rather than me. So any way to cut corners in terms of my responsibilities versus the parents' responsibilities, that's important, because our responsibilities add up really quickly. So anytime I can give parents more responsibility, I try to do that. So there we go. There's the refrigerator. I had this nice box window. This window was here when I moved in. We started seeds in here in the spring. I have a couple plants going right now that aren't super healthy, but that box window is really nice. With microwave, I do warm up the kids' food if they bring pasta or soup or whatever. And then I have these nice cubbies, which are all full. I currently have 16 different families that are enrolled in part-time schedules at my program. So my cubbies are all full. This is something I had made for my business back when I lived at the other house. And it was, an investment of money, but perfect. I love that it's just wall mounted. They have these just nice cubes that are theirs. It's plenty of room. Ideally, I only have 12 kids. I don't have as many as I have now. But it should be enough space for all the kids in my program. And there's these little hooks on the bottom for their coats, which I think is really nice. And he also built me this nice shoe shelf. So my childcare program is a shoe-free place. And so when they come in, they take their shoes off and they put them on the shelf. Here I have my bulletin board with all the required documents that Dell requires me to have. So my philosophy, my emergency exit sign and plan, my schedule, parent communication, policy, that sort of thing is all up there. And then I have my sign-in sheet here. So you can see that I have a note here on the top. This is a great way for me to communicate with clients. Things that I want everybody to know. Now, the fact that I'm opening late next Friday, I have a doctor's appointment in the morning. I verbally told all of them, right? That's the sort of thing that I make a priority to coordinate verbally. But everybody needs a reminder. So there's my reminder right there. And then we've got some artwork on the wall. This is something I've just started doing actually as a result of doing this class with you all. I was hoping that when I agreed to teach this course that I would benefit from, we're all talking about best practice and the best way to do things in our childcare programs. And I was hoping it would rub off on me, because the reality is there are so many aspects to this job. There are so many things that we could be paying attention to. There's an infinite amount of time we could spend planning activities or working on parent communication or documenting the children's work and displaying it for the parents, or arranging our environment. Or, I mean, there's just, we could work at this job 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. And I think it's important that we set boundaries for ourselves and our time, and not feel like we have to do it all. But I was hoping that some of the things that I have not been paying enough attention to, that I would start to, just interacting with you all and talking to you all about the best way to do these things. And one of the things that I've started doing since this fall quarter started was displaying their artwork more. This is just a paper towel activity we did. So we colored on the paper towels. Here's a good example. We colored on the paper towels, and then here I gave the children water and paintbrushes to brush over their drawing and just see how the colors kind of moved and melded. And anyway, so they're just up on the wall, which is just nice, because then it's a way to show parents that we are doing some art, gives parents a conversation piece. Oh, which one's yours? That sort of thing. And then the children are really enjoying seeing their artwork put up. They'll be like, oh, I did that. Like, they'll remember, oh, I did that. And it helps give value to the work that they're doing at my house, that, oh, it is important. And now I've always posted art, but what I haven't done is change it frequently. So this will be up 2 days, and then I'll put up our next art project. You know, it doesn't need to stay up a long time. I think refreshing it a lot. Like I said, just then everything they're doing is being displayed, and they're feeling good about what they're doing. So anyways, there's my new art space. And I like it because it's a spot where the parents see when they come in. They actually most parents don't come into my playroom. They just spend time in this welcome space. So hanging it up in the playroom doesn't communicate it to the parents. If I want to communicate what we're doing to the parents, I really need to do it here. And I think that's a nice space to do it. So, okay, so then the kids usually take their shoes off, hang up their coats, mama leaves, and then the kids come in. This is our room for eating and doing art and puzzles or any kind of activity that's good at the table. It's also my room that I use. I have some children who don't nap, and so when the other children are napping in the playroom, this is kind of a separate room where they can play. Like, they can't be loud, but they don't have to be silent. And so I'm enjoying that very, very, very much, to have this separate room where the 5-year-olds can be when the other kids are napping. So we have our nice curved table. These are my seats that I use for infants and toddlers and, 2-year-olds who I think I'd like to sit longer than they want to sit on their own. And they just have a strap. And I haven't used them for super small babies, but really if a child's not starting their solids till 5 or 6 months, I think then they're about to sit up or are sitting up on their own then anyways, and I think this chair would really work. And that way I don't have to have high chairs, and even the young ones get to be at the table with the big kids. So I think that's really good. I have an easel there, which, we can do painting on, and it has a chalkboard on the other side. So there's, various activities you can do with an easel. Here's some more artwork. I do a combination of large paper art where they're sharing the page and working together, and then the sort of thing that I showed earlier where it's individual art. I think that both are good experiences for a child to have. And this is, actually one child, but she just really got to use a big space. It is important for toddlers to have big paper, even if they're just working on it on their own, because their fine motor is not really strong, and their job actually is to be working on their large motor. So if you give them a big paper, they can just move their arm a lot bigger, and that's important for their development. And then we have our water table, water/sensory table. This, possibilities are endless. Let's see what's in here right now. We got some blue soapy water from a few days ago, so that needs to be cleaned out. But yeah, water, colored water, soapy water, rice, beans. I've put wood shavings in there, cornstarch and water. The possibilities are endless. So that's a nice sensory table with some nice space for them to play it. At my old house, we had it, but it was jammed up in the back of my kitchen, and there was cupboard here, and there was cupboard on this side, and so they just got to stand like 4 in the front to use it, but now they have much more space all around it. I can fit all 6 kids at the same time. Then here we have our bathroom. So all of this was here when I bought this house, this plumbing. The plumbing for the bathroom was already here, so it was a super score when we found this property. Both at this house and my last house, I put the changing table in the bathtub area. At my old house, I had 2 bathrooms, so I was willing to sacrifice a bathtub for the kids' bathroom and put the changing table on top. So that is that. I like that. I like that a lot better than having the changing table in the playroom. I think that there's something unsanitary about that. I also like to have a changing table. I know some providers have just use the pad on the floor, and that's fine. I like the poopy diaper to be elevated away from the rest of the children. So this is ideal setup for me. But of course, it's a luxury to have a bathtub that you are not using that you can convert into a changing table area. And then we have the toilet, and the sink, and I have my stools, a basket of paper towels on top of the toilet. Pretty self-explanatory bathroom. So we come in the bathroom, and then this is luxury upon luxury as far as home childcare programs go. I did not have anything like this, of course, in my old house, but this building has 2 storage closets, and so I have a really great place to store all my extra toys. Yeah, at the old house, we actually had a storage unit that stored a lot of this, because I don't spend a ton of time on curriculum per se. I'm not spending hours planning outside of when the kids are in my care, thinking about new and exciting things that we can be doing together. I do that a little bit, but mainly I rely a lot on the environment that I set up to challenge and interest the kids. So I like to change my toys out and my materials out quite a bit. So it's important to me to have a lot of different types of materials for the kids to use. And this is a nice lock system. I got this at Lowe's, and it just, sticks on with a sticker here, and then this pops in. And I can reach it, but, they can't reach it. So that's a good lock system. Here we have our art closet. I don't have a lock on this. They don't ever open it, just magically. So that's awesome, because there's a lot of good stuff in here that I think they might want, but they don't bother with it. I've got my nap mats up there. Up there I have some paint shirts that I use. We got our paint. Here, I'll give you the big view. So this is, of course, again, luxury upon luxury in a home childcare program, but I have all the art supplies that we need. I invested quite a bit of money in those nice bins. I do have plans to label them because they're clear, but I do end up having to look a little bit, look in. Oh, okay, those are markers, collage material, glue sticks, but if I had labels on them, that would be even better. I could just really see at a glance. So we have all sorts of things. We have, containers, and we have plastic bottles we'd use for the water table or watercolor activity. That's where I keep my pack and plays and my broom, and yeah, this this closet is pretty nice. For our art supplies. Oh, the other thing I have in here is some of those things I might pull out for the 5-year-old who doesn't nap. So we got some floor puzzles, a little sandbox, something I would never pull out, with a group of 3 and 4-year-olds. But if one child is awake at nap time, one child can play with this. We've got some games, that sort of thing. So I keep those there because this is the room that the non-nappers play in. And then we enter into the playroom. Now, all 3 of these rooms, I do not have a gate, So they have access to all of them all the time. When I first was setting up this space, I did not even consider that they would want to leave this warm, carpeted, furnished room and go play in this room. That was very shocking to me. But this room gets a lot of good light. So sometimes there's that, like a nice sun beam coming in here, and the floor here has a nice sun space on it. And they're kind of like cats. I find them laying in the sun space a lot. Or they like to, set up a baby doll crib in here on the floor, or lay out a picnic in here. Anyways, they use this room way more than I ever thought that they would. But that's fine, because if I position myself right, I can see everywhere. I guess I can't see behind this corner, but if I know someone's in here, then I will come check on them, that sort of a thing. So they get access to the whole space. And I love it. In the old space, the old house, we would always be all together. If I was at the table, they were all with me. If I was reading books, they were all with me. But now there's such space here that they aren't compelled to herd up in the same way. And so I'm not with 6 children, I'm with 4, and then the other 2 are off doing whatever. And I love it. Okay, so here's the playroom. We went really neutral on the walls. My husband is an artist. Not like officially, but he's an artistic person. He painted these walls. I love him. So they're like hills and sky, kind of is the idea. So they're kind of like rolling hills. And he wanted to paint a mural. He wanted to paint trees and flowers and animals. And I was like, whoa, there's going to be a lot of kids in here, a lot of toys, a lot of activity, a lot of mess, because it doesn't, usually look clean like this. It was messy. And I wanted really plain walls. I thought, it's so sweet what you've done here. Let's just leave it. Because to me, it's the sky and the hills, and then down here we have the ground, because I went with a really brown, dirt-colored ground, in part to hide the dirt, and also just to go kind of with the theme. So I like it plain. I have one picture up here just because I think that I love this little girl's artwork. I think her painting, she's 2. I think her painting is so good. But I don't hang a lot of artwork in here. I like it plain because, like I said, we have plenty of activity without it. Okay, so here's one more closet. This room was built. When we bought this space, the other room was all finished. The art room and the welcome room where the walls were finished, and that's how it was. This space was actually a garage. So my husband and his father, insulated it and sheetrocked it and whatever, and they built this room because behind here is the hot water heater. And there's also an outlet for a utility sink that we thought we might keep. There's also a plug area for a washer and dryer. So when that's something that we can afford, we'd love to put a washer and dryer in here and have daycare laundry separate from personal laundry, which for pee and poop accidents and that sort of thing. And that would just be, again, luxury upon luxury. But we're not there yet. We can't afford it. But we have here our chest freezer. So I guess that is a mix of personal in the business space, but that's fine. That's where our chest freezer is, whatever, our berries and meat and things that we freeze. And then stroller storage. I've got my scanner, which I use for this class. Some extra blankets, toilet, paper towels and toilet paper. This is my box of files for the children's, the children's medical files and that sort of thing, medical emergency information, that sort of thing. So this is kind of turned into a catch-all closet. I would like it to be more organized, of course, and there's great potential. We have these tall walls, we could put shelves. This could be a really awesome space for storage someday. But my husband put that in mainly to protect the hot water heater, and knowing that we would love to have a washer and dryer in there someday. Okay, so this is our kind of cozy reading area. I have opted to have my books in a basket. That is new to this space. I'll show you my old bookcase. I haven't had the heart to get rid of it yet. See that? Kind of. It's the kind with the, like the display case so that kids can see the front of the books all at a glance. This is the recommended bookcase for toddlers, or even preschoolers, because they can't, the spine tells them very little information about what's inside of the book. Nothing really, it's just words. So they recommend that you display your books, the front of your books, so that they see what the book's about. That bookcase, I just couldn't fit into this space in the way I wanted it. And I thought, you know what, my kids are so motivated to read that I don't need to display them like that. They will dig through this basket and they will find the books for me to read. So this is not best practice. Best practice is the bookcase that I just showed you, but this works for us. They dig through here, they find what they need. I can change these books out. That works best for us. And that's how it works in childcare and family childcare. It's important for you to know what is best practice and what people recommend, and then understand why they recommend it, and then you get to make your own decision, ultimately. It's your home, it's your business, it's your clients. So that's the choice I've made. We have our nice little cozy futon book reading area. I find that I don't end up reading books there a lot. In the old space, I would always sit on the futon and read books, but if I sit in that space, I can't see what's happening in this next room. So I actually sit right here against the wall, so I can see what's going there, see what's going on over there, have my back against the wall, and so I read a lot of books right there. But the children snuggle up on here and read a lot of books themselves. We got our ball area. This is not always out. It's out a lot, though. And the tent, they are allowed to move the tent. Another space they really like to put the tent, they take it out of here and they put it like that over the rocking chair, and then 2 kids can fit on the rocking chair, other kids can fit on the floor behind it, and that's their fire truck. So I do think it's important to have things in your environment that can be changed upon the children's desire. So that's their imagination, that's their decision to put that tent there. I never would have come up with that in a million years, and they love it. And I allow that quite a bit, the moving of space. I actually allow them to push this cube away from the wall and go behind it and move that cube other places. I have this boat that turns into, this is an awesome thing if you don't know about these, it's a rocking boat that turns into stairs, and if you're really brave, the boat can turn into bunk beds. I don't do that. It depends on the group of kids. If there was an infant or a young toddler in the room, I would not, because that's, can tip over. But anyway, so that, and they're allowed to move those stairs around. They've moved it into the other room, whatever. I allow moving the space around. I think that is really good for their brain development. They have an idea of what it will look like to move it. They work together to move a heavy object, developing teamwork, muscles, all of those things. They've moved it, then they get to see how their plan, what they thought it would look like, compares to what it really looks like once it moved. They might need to change their plan a bit, because maybe their idea of how it was going to work in their head is false, and based on their new information, they're going to change their plan to make it work. All of that is really good problem solving for kids. So having components in your environment that allow for children to do that type of problem solving and that type of creative thinking is really important. And as adults, us having comfort with letting them do it. Now, some people would not let them move that wooden cube that costs hundreds of dollars at the community playthings catalog, but I trust them and I really value their creativity, so they can move that at my house. So then we have our little house area. I have a bunch of 2-year-olds, both girls and boys, who love the house area and the baby area. So we've got a kitchen with some pots. We've got some wooden food under there. We got the babies. Here are some dress-up clothes and costumes that are really popular right now in the month of October. And we got the cribs. Now these cribs are awesome because sometimes the babies are chucked out and the children sit in the cribs. These cribs also can be moved all around the room wherever they want. And we've got some purses and bags there, which, are great open-ended materials because they can take those bags and they can fill them with whatever they want to fill them and carry them around the room. And I love it when they put a bag over their shoulder and have a baby on their hip and say, "Bye, I'm going to work," because they like to mimic mom and dad. And we got some more kitchen stuff in there. So not super fancy, but it has what they need to model some of the things that the adults in their environment do. They want to model that. And so giving them some of the tools to do that. Excuse me. We got some cute little chairs, palazzo chairs, I think they're called. These are super cute to watch them climb into, and sometimes they kind of tip over. And these also can be moved around. I have my rocking chair glider, which is invaluable to me. Super cozy. I actually rock the children to sleep at nap time. I for years I would have them all be on their mats. Ideally they would fall asleep on their own, but I'd kind of make my way around the room rubbing backs one by one until everyone fell asleep. My back started to really hurt doing that. And the other thing is this chair gives me a perfect view into this room. So now that I have a awake child in this other room, I don't want to be all around the room in the different various places rubbing children's back. I want to sit there where I can see what's happening in the other room. So I have taken to rocking all the children to sleep. So I do the same thing. They get on their mats. They can read books, whatever. Some of them fall asleep on their own. But kind of one by one, I call them to the chair and I rock them. And, some of you might have opinions about this. I even rock some of the 4-year-olds. They really like it. I do them last. I prefer for them to fall asleep on their own. But I have one child who I rock him. He's out. And I just think that 4-year-olds, by the time they're 4-year-old boys, they're not getting a lot of that physical touch, physical holding. But I think they need it just as much. They're just 4. I mean, they're bigger than a 2-year-old, but they were just a 2-year-old 2 years ago, So, so I do. I rock my kids. A little unorthodox, but it works really well for me, and they like it. And they all wait patiently on their mat to have their turn. And like I said, not lots of them fall asleep on their own without it, but it's become a really pleasant time of our day. So here we have some wagons, and there's some blocks in there, so those are fun. And they, of course, can push that all around the room. We've got, on this side, these are kind of more of the toddler, older infant toys. We got some xylophones and stacking toys, that sort of thing. So I kind of organize my toys by the younger stuff over here. We've got a dollhouse with some animals and some people, and that's a popular kind of pretend place. Currently we have some puzzles here. This will have different things, like different Playmobiles I'll set up on here, or I'll set up a track for them, or I'll move the toys off and they'll set up their own, because this is a train table. Under here, we've got our trains and our tracks and that sort of thing. Here we've got our wooden blocks. This is another reason I have this train table is this carpet is soft and cozy and awesome, and it's not good to build on. And I don't love for them to build on the tile over there, because if it falls, it's such a loud, noise. So they do a lot of building. We'll take the puzzles off of here, and they'll do a lot of building on this hard surface. And they can build a whole city up there, because it's a nice enclosed kind of space. So that's a nice option for them. And of course, also they pull these out and hide under. Let me see that. They hide under the train table. So that is another example of letting them have a creative use of space. And no adult would ever think, ooh, let's climb under the train table. But kids, they think of that. So on here, my idea is that this kind of area with the shelf here was a little bit of a protected area. Something to think about when you're setting up an environment is having protected areas. If I use this room, like if I just lined the walls with shelves, this room is big enough that it would just become a circus. So even having that stairs in the middle of the room kind of breaks up the space so that they aren't invited to run. I do allow them to run in my home if the combination of kids, if that feels safe. So they might run from the chair through there all the way over to the refrigerator and back, so it's kind of a runway, which I think is important, because we talked a little bit about thinking about the wax need for there to be 30 minutes of active activity for every 3 hours the children are in care. So we're not always outside for an hour and a half. And even when we're outside, a lot of the times they're in the sandbox. So that's not really active play. So when the Spirit moves them, if they want to run, that's active play. And that's healthy for their hearts and their muscles. So I do allow it. If it's getting out of hand, then I stop it. But, most of the time it doesn't get out of hand. But my idea for this space is that it's kind of a protected area. So if someone were to be, let's see, building a Lego creation in here, the kids could still run down that runway, and it's not going to interfere with what's happening back here. My other idea is that this would be kind of the more older children playing area, and that the young toddlers would be attracted to this area less. They would be over by the balls, or they would be playing with these things or playing with the babies. And so maybe the 3-year-olds could have a little space over here to to build some things without being bothered by the young toddlers. So we've got Legos, dinosaurs, trucks, Matchbox cars, and then these are, I don't know what these are. These guys. And I have 3 boxes of those. So these manipulatives change. Legos are almost always out. Dinosaurs are often out. These trucks are always out. So there's certain things that are staples at my house, but like these things certainly are not always out, and I might replace them with something else, Mega Blocks, or I don't know. I have like some long hoses that you can bead things onto, that sort of thing. And then the hoses, they have all sorts of creative ideas of how to use the hoses. So, I can put different things there. So that's that. This is a recent purchase from Goodwill, which I cannot believe how popular they are. They're just these beads, these like Mardi Gras beads, and I got the whole big bag of them for like $1 at Goodwill. So I was thinking about the 2-year-old girls would want to wear these, right? And they do. But the 4-year-old boys want to collect them and hoard them like pirates. And one of them was putting them in a pile and kneading them like bread dough, and then pounding them like bread dough and baking. And I don't know, there's something about these. I think the sound that they make, that they're shiny, that, I don't know. They love them. So if you ever see these at Goodwill, I would say go for it. They are super popular. So that is it. I'm trying to think of anything else about my environment that I want you to know. I made the decision to not have curtains. My mother-in-law was all set. She's got her sewing machine. She's going to make some curtains for us. But if you can see, okay, if I go to the child's level, this is about the child's level, what they see when they look out the window is trees. And if they look out this window, they see more trees. And if they look out that window, they see more trees. So curtains are not more beautiful than trees. And I'm lucky that this space is pretty private behind me, behind my house. And when you're driving down the road past my house, you can't see this space, and you would never know there was a childcare program back here. So I don't feel compelled to keep it private. So we've decided not to have curtains. I think that might be it in terms of my space. I hope that gave you some things to think about with your own space. I think every family childcare home is unique. Every setup is unique. The needs of your children, the needs of you are unique. This is how I've solved the challenges of caring for my group of kids, is having an open space where they have freedom of movement, where they can change the environment, where there are some closed off spaces, where there's enough space where children can be alone. If a child wants to be alone at my house, they can find a way to be it. Sometimes they climb. Here, the easel is usually like this. And so they might climb in there to be alone, or behind there to be alone, or under the table. There's just a lot of spaces for them to find. Children need spaces to be together, and to be alone, they need hard spaces like this floor so that they can do messy activities without fear of ruining something. They also need soft spaces like this carpet and this futon where they can be cozy and get comfortable. They need things they can change. They need small things for them to manipulate, and they need a lot of time. They need a lot of time to play and to learn and to grow. And that's it. So thank you for viewing this. That's it.